On this week's episode of Sportspage, we'll recap UCM's exciting weekend for Jenny soccer and Mules football, and also look to see how track and field did at their multi.
We'll check out how the opening of the Mules and Jenny's basketball season has gone and see the results of the Mules wrestling road trip this past weekend. Stay tuned as we discuss all things UCM sports. Welcome to this week's episode of Sportspage. As alongside my co-host, Jaya Hill, I'm Will McLaughlin. Jenny's soccer made history this past weekend in Kansas City. It all began back in November when they defeated Grand Valley State to earn the berth to the Final Four, a first in program history. They then shut out Mercy College 3-0 on November 30th to continue on to the national championship against number 2 Carson Newman. Let's take a look at those highlights. The Jennies found themselves in unfamiliar territory during the national championship as they struggled to find the back of the net for nearly the entire game. Carson Newman was able to get on the board early as they had played 2 quick passes, and Lauren Wade became just the 5th player to score on Anna Dilks this season, giving them a 1-0 lead over UCM. As the game went on, the Jennies had multiple chances to tie the game, but goalkeeper Jacqueline Burns and the Eagles defense kept this high-powered UCM offense at bay for nearly the entire game. As the game went on, the Jennies continued to find opportunities. Abby Rhodes, Jada Scott, and Michaela Toth each had chances to tie the game, but they could not find the back of the net. With the 1-0 lead, the Eagles looked to cushion its second period lead, but Dilks, Division II's all-time shutout leader, kept the Jennies in the game with saves in 1v1 situations. Fast forwarding to the final 30 seconds, a quick steal by the Jennies leads to a foul on Jada Scott in the box, setting her up for the penalty kick attempt. Scott looks off the keeper and is able to get the shot to go and tie the game up at 1-1 with 90 seconds. We went into 2 overtime periods, but neither team could find a golden goal to get back into this game or at least win, going into a shootout. Bailey Edwards got UCM in front 1-0, but Carson Newman was able to tie it back up at 1-1. Scott answers, making it a 2-1 game, but Carson Newman ties it right away 2-2. Hamner makes it a 3-2 lead, but again, Newman is able to tie it up, and then Haley Freeman makes it a 4-3 lead, and Anna Dilks is able to get a game-winning save that ultimately led for the Jennies' chance to win it in 5-3 shootout. Rhodes is able to line it up left side, and as it plays off of Burns' hands, it goes in, and the Jennies are able to cap off a perfect season. After 110 minutes of regulation and 2 overtime periods, the Jennies walked away Division II Women's Soccer National Champions. The Jennies finished with a perfect 26-0 record, which is not only the most in school history, but also an NCAA Division II record. They led Division II in shutouts with 21, and the least goals allowed, only 5.
Seniors Abby Rhodes and Anna Dilks were named the most outstanding defense and offensive players of the tournament. Those two, along with Jada Scott, Kayla Hamner, and Taylor Thompson, were named All-American Tournament Team. Sophomore midfielder Kelsey Mueller won the Elite 90 Award. This award goes to the student athlete with the highest cumulative GPA participating in the Final Four NCAA championships. This weekend was a perfect ending for the talented Jenny soccer team. On to Jennies volleyball. They finished their season falling to Nebraska Kearney in the MIAA semifinals, but the Holland sisters are still earning honors from their performances this season. Casey and Kylie were both named American Volleyball Association All-American Honorable Mention. Casey was named the AVCA All-Region team, while Kylie was selected for the Division II Conference Commissioners Association All-Region team. After this break, we'll take a look at Mules' football trip to Excelsior Springs, and later on, sit down with seniors of Jennies basketball. Stay tuned.
Historic, unique, exciting. As challenges continue to test the mettle of Americans, your community has to depend on willing citizens just like you to answer the call and respond to local disasters and other times of crisis. You may be surprised to find out who we are and what we do. In fact, it could actually be your story too. The Air National Guard.
My parents met because they both worked on the railroad. There was actually no question I was going to go to work on the railroad. I knew that from the very beginning when I was a little kid. My dad taught me to be kind and think about other people. And that is what I'm trying to instill in my family. My granddaughter is named June Elizabeth, but I call her Junebug. My hope is to teach her about kindness and about the love of animals and nature. I want Junebug to have the same opportunities I had by watching PBS. It has helped me understand so many things in our world. My husband and I feel so strongly about our PBS station that we've included them in our estate plan.
Call 1-800-753-3436.
PBS is part of our values, things that we cherish, and we want to pass it on to the next generation.
Welcome back. Mules football also brought back a trophy this weekend from their trip to the Mineral Water Bowl in Excelsior Springs, Missouri. Let's take a look at those highlights. The Mules started off early Saturday at the Mineral Water Bowl versus number 23 Minnesota Duluth as Javonte Singler is the first one to score, putting the Mules up 7-0 at the end of the first. But the Bulldogs came back strong at the beginning of the second, pushing in for a touchdown and then going for a 2-point conversion. Now it's 8-7 Bulldogs. Duluth tight end Nick Larson catches a 14-yard pass for a touchdown, 15-7. We see the Bulldogs deep ball quite a bit this game. John Larson slings one in the end zone, increasing their score 22-10 at the end of the half. Freshman of the year Devontae Turner comes in strong for the Mules with a 3-yard run to extend the score 22-17 Bulldogs. But Duluth has an answer with Larson's 15-yard pass towards the end zone, 28-17 Bulldogs. But what happens next seems to be a little bit of a miracle and a Mineral Water Bowl record for the longest kickoff return from Jalen Zachary. He runs back an 100-yard kickoff return right into the end zone, giving the Mules 6 more points on the board. Well, this definitely gave the Mules offense a lot of confidence and set up Brook Bowl's offense perfect to connect one with Kerryon Parker for a big Mules first down to move the chains. But that arm does not seem to stop there as Brook Bowles throws a 29-yard touchdown pass to Seth Abear, putting the Mules back on top for the first time since the first quarter, 31-28 Mules. Quarterback Brook Bowles then shows why he was the offensive player of the game as he shifts and shakes away with a 40-yard run into the end zone, leaving the score 38-28 Mules. And the celebration begins. But the defense keeps working as senior De'Aaron Rose recovers the fumble in the end zone to finish off the game. Junior linebacker Austin Miller was also named Defensive Player of the Game. Bowles caps his first year as a starter with 4,322 yards of total offense, the second in the most in a single season at UCM. He's been selected as a finalist for the Harlan Hill Trophy. The NCAA Division II Football Player of the Year will be announced December 15th.
Mules basketball has had a successful start to their season, adding another win Tuesday night against Baker University, making them 7-1. Spencer Reeves posted 25 points in that game and earned his 1,000th career point in a UCM uniform. The Mules are currently ranked number 23 in the D2 CITA poll this week. Ali Overstreet got a chance to sit down with the head coach and see just how he is approaching this season.
Hi, I'm Ali Overstreet here with Coach Carl Skint for the Mules basketball team. So Coach, the Mules have had great momentum so far this season. What types of things do you prepare the team for week to week to prepare for the games?
You know, our goal just week to week is just getting better. You know, we have good players, we have depth of good players, so that just translates to the practice floor where they're competing every day. And our guys are hungry to get better. You know, they love the game and they love competing, and that makes practices that much better and just challenges guys to just keep on getting better and better, you know. And throughout the course of the year, we're going to add some things, we're going to tweak some things to help us become a better team, and the guys have really responded, especially on the defensive end 3 weeks into the season. And that's probably what I'm most proud about, is just their ability to learn, and especially with the new guys, accepting our new terminology and applying it to the practice and then performing during the games.
Do you guys do certain things, like depending on what opponents you have coming up next, do you do certain things to prepare for those games?
Yeah, you know, our scouting report's pretty in depth, and I mean, you can't be a dummy and play for us. You gotta be able to think the game, and you know, the mental approach is huge, especially this time of year where you can't do as much on the floor, trying to save legs and with injuries. So watching film, scouting report, and taking what we have on paper and applying it to the court is huge, and where your practice time is limited. Like last week, we played 4 games in 7 days. And for our guys to be able to respond, especially on a quick day turnaround, we had a 2-day break, another 2-day break, and then we had basically less than 24 hours. So, and they did really well. You know, I give them a lot of credit, and but that is huge, just a mental approach to the game.
Exactly. Who would you say are your leaders on the team, and what do they bring to the table?
You know, I would pin it on our seniors. Senior Spencer Reeves, he's been here 3 years. DJ Richardson and Clarence Smith have been here 2 years, and then Phil Winston, who hasn't played, he's injured. But I would say those guys. You know, Spencer has been an all-conference performer each of his 2 years that he's been here. Well on pace to do it again this year with the type of year he's had so far. DJ Richardson's been great. He missed the entire preseason with an injury, so we were lucky to get him back right before our Wisconsin trip. You know, and I think he's poised to have a breakout year. He really did well late in the season last year after he got going. He didn't play for a year and a half. And then Clarence Smith has been a huge lift, especially on the defensive end. And then he's averaging close to 10 points a game, and he's had a great start to his senior year. Once Phil gets going, once he gets healthy, I think he will bring a lot to the table just with his energy and athleticism. Yeah.
So you were talking about injuries, so what other adversities, if any, have you guys faced this season?
You know, probably the obvious one is the Cameron game. We're 6-1. This is the game that we lost, and we had talked about having such a good start in Wisconsin, and we got to keep on building that. And then it was disappointing to play in front of our home fans like how we did against Cameron, and you know, just to bounce back from that, because we were pretty low after that game. Just our performance wasn't very good. Our guys knew it. They were embarrassed. And to play a really good Maryville team 2 days later, and I thought that was probably our best 40 minutes that we've had this season. And we made a Maryville team that's really good, not look very good.
Yeah, so that was like a good put up.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a great way to respond to the adversity that we had this year.
Exactly. So earlier you were talking about the new players meshing with the returning players. How has that been going so far?
It's been great. You know, I would attribute a lot of it to the summer before we even got here. We had 13 guys here in the month of June, and just getting to know the guys, the new teammates, the old team, you know, the old players, and just getting them together as much as possible. So when August hits and we're back here at school, where you got a lot more distractions, there's always that built-in bond. And getting to work out with Coach Davis, strength and conditioning with his program. I thought it was huge. We had never had that many players, so I thought that's been the biggest key to getting the guys to mesh as quickly as possible. And we have high character guys, and they love being around each other. And we need to continue that, especially with the highs and lows of the basketball season that lasts so long.
Just one more question. So what are your personal goals as a coach throughout the season?
You know, get better every game. I think probably if you ask any coach, that's the goal. And one thing that we haven't done in my 3 years, that we haven't won a conference title yet here. We've came second, regular season, conference tournament, and I would love personally, especially for that group of guys that we have in the locker room, to cut down the nets.
Definitely.
And you know, that's what I came here to do, and that's my goal. But that takes place every day on the practice floor, and every game you got to get a little bit better.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Coach. I'm Allie Overstreet for Sportspage.
The Mules are back in action Sunday in their first conference matchup against the #1 Northwest Missouri State Bearcats. Tip-off is set for 3:30 p.m. at the Multi-Purpose Building. We'll take a short break, but after we'll check out the results from track and field and wrestling this past weekend. Stay tuned.
I choose red to blaze my own trail.
I choose red to be with students and faculty who make me feel at home.
I
I wanted a university with a big picture perspective. That's why I chose red.
Why do you choose red?
Choose red.
Choose red. Choose the University of Central Missouri. Choose red. Can I do that? Is that allowed?
Live with a human for a while and you get to know a few things. Like, I know she's actually not a morning person. I know she does strange tricks for no treats. I know that water makes her howl like crazy. I even know how the floor stays so clean. She's quick. But the one thing I will never for the life of me know is how she gets so tiny and inside that box. Natalie, how do you get so tiny?
Welcome back. Former Missouri Mules golfer Sam Migdal was named this year's Missouri Golf Association Men's Player of the Year. He was the first ever Mules golfer to be crowned national champion, and in 2015 he helped lead his team to the third-place finish in that same year at the national championships. This year he qualified for the U.S. Amateur and competed in the second stage of the U.S. Open.
UCM track and field officially kicked off their season with some athletes traveling to Crete, Nebraska for the Doane College Happy Holiday multi-meet. Lauren Nelson competed in her first college meet where she ran a 9.54 for the 60-meter hurdles, earning 4th place and jumped 16.5 feet in long jump, matching teammate Hannah Becker. Luke Tripp was also competing in his first collegiate meet, clearing 5.10.5 in high jump and throwing 32 feet. Kira Webster bettered her marks in shot put from a year ago, throwing 31 feet, earning 3rd place. Sophomore Hannah Van Buskirk was a top finisher for the Jenny, scoring 3,323 points for a new personal best. Her best mark was in the high jump, where she cleared 5.7.5, which is an NCAA provisional qualifying mark. Junior Elias Rofsima was a top finisher for the Mules, scoring 4,529 points. He set a new personal best in shot put, throwing 39 feet, and matched his personal best in high jump, clearing a 6.2 bar. Track and field will be back in action Saturday for the Pittsburgh State Crimson and Gold Invitational.
Jenny's basketball dominated over Harris Stowe 78-43 last week, improving their record to 5-1. They cracked the top 10 in this week's Women's Basketball Coaches Association poll, moving up 2 spots from number 12 last week. For this week's edition of Senior Spotlight, our Dale Fowler sat down with one non-traditional senior leader who has really grown into a role on the team.
Welcome to another segment of Senior Spotlight, along with senior basketball guard Kelsey Williams. I'm Dale Fowler. How you doing today, Kelsey?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. So the team has started off hot this year. How do you guys what has really been a focus this year for you?
I think that we're more focused on defense this year, as last year we struggled a little bit with defense, but towards the end of the year we got better. I think that's really going to be our key, especially in conference play, is defense, being able to switch it up from 2-3 zone to man-to-man. The good thing about our team is we can switch all ball screens. Sometimes we struggle with that, but we're really good at it, so that's very helpful for us.
So you guys really can feel the flow of the game. You can get it together and just really keep it moving. So what has been the biggest improvement for you guys since last season?
I think personally that we're bonded closer, so it makes it easier for us to criticize each other on the floor and just forget about it off the floor. Also, we brought in Jolene Ships. She's very big for us inside. She takes up a lot of space and she can get things done inside for us, which is nice. And then alongside Kayana Lee, she's a senior, she's a leader, she's a hard rebounder for us, so I think that really helps us get things done. As we all know, Paige is an All-American, and she really helps us out when we need something. That's where we go, and she gets the job done.
And naming all those players that you have said, just like Kayana Lee and Paige Redmond, those who really contribute a lot to the team. So what is really your role? You know, coming off the bench sometimes, really bringing that leadership that you need for that second platoon.
Yeah, like you said, I take pride in being a leader. That's how I always have been. Just talking, getting everybody together, staying calm. I don't know if you know this, but I am 24. I'm playing with, 19, 20-year-olds, some 18-year-olds. So personally for me, I take pride in bringing the team together, calming things down when it needs it, just playing my game.
And that is a great, age gap, just like you said, playing along 18-year-olds, you being 24, so you really understanding what you have to do. So that really hits off the next question, like I was about to say, you being a senior and also now knowing your age. So how do you really guide your teammates on and off the court?
Off the court, we're friends, don't get me wrong, but there's an age gap, like I said, and I don't live with them, so I will do anything for them. We do meet, get together every once in a while, friends, like I said, but on the court, we have a special bond and it won't ever be broken. That's one thing about basketball or sports in general. You'll carry this friendship for the rest of your life.
Yes.
This is very meaningful, and like I said, as 24, it really hits home. Like, you really understand that.
Yeah, like you said, that is very important, having a team bonding. So is there anything you guys do together, just to really come together, probably have a night together, like a girls' night, go to the movies,
Yeah, sometimes we meet to go out to eat. If not, last year I know at my house I threw like it was around Christmas break, no one's here. It's kind of boring, all you're doing is practicing. I had people over for dinner and we played video games and just hung out. I mean, we had a good time. But
I am a video gamer myself. What's your favorite video game?
Actually, I pull back to the Nintendo 64, the Mario.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
Going old school.
Okay. So, in 2016, not only that you're great on the court, but really just in the classroom as well, you received the MIAA Academic Excellence Award, and then also was on the MIAA Academic Honor Roll with the perfect 4.0 GPA. So how much pride do you really take in the classroom? Well, that says it right there with 4.0.
Classrooms first.
Yeah.
Some people don't get that, but here, our coaches really push us to have academic excellence all the time. It's not an option, which is great, but personally I take pride in that. My parents have always pushed me to do my best, but it hurts me deep down to get a B, so that's just who I am. That's how I am on the basketball floor. I just have a winning mentality.
But that's all we have for this week's episode of Senior Spotlight. See you next time.
Thanks, Dale. The Jennies are back at home this Sunday to begin conference play against Northwest Missouri State. Start time is set for 1:30 p.m. in the multi.
Mules Wrestling had a solid outing at the Luther Hill Invitational, hosted by Simpson College on Saturday. They had 10 place winners, with Dominique Hampton being a champion at 197 pounds. The Mules will head to the Midwest Classic in Indianapolis December 16th. Stay tuned, because when we come back, Will and I will be sharing our thoughts on the Division I football playoffs for this week's Pro Talk.
Look around you. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. faces hunger. It's not always easy to see the signs, but in this land of plenty, there are kids that don't know where they will get their next meal. Join Share Our Strength in Food Network and take the pledge to end childhood hunger here in America by 2015. Learn how at NoKidHungry.org. Their next meal could come from you.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
I choose to be a champion.
I choose to be inspired.
I choose the perfect fit.
I choose Red to experience learning to a greater degree.
Choose Red. Choose the University of Central Missouri.
I support one student in college with a scholarship. Just the way I want to pass on a legacy of education. I would like to pass PBS on to the next generation.
For more information, call 1-800-753-3436.
I like to think that PBS is concerned with our soul, If your soul is in the right place, you're in giving back.
Welcome back. For this week's Pro Talk, we are discussing Division I playoffs. Of course, this is huge controversy since Alabama has solidified
their spot.
Solidified their spot, and we were talking a little bit before the break. Of course, you can't not like Alabama. I mean, who doesn't like Nick Saban?
Well, personally, I don't like Nick Saban, but I think the committee got this right. You look at the way Alabama played all year in a tough SEC division that is tough in and year out, and you got to give a lot of credit to the way this team played even after losing their one game in the season. If you put them in the Big Ten, they're undefeated. You throw Ohio State or Wisconsin in the SEC, they walk out with 3 losses the entire year. But altogether, the committee, I think they really set the tone that they're not going to follow an agenda. They're not going to look at people's finishing in their divisions, whether they win it or not. And again, that's where Ohio State and Wisconsin, they have a lot of beef about it because they feel because one of them won their division in Ohio State that they should be getting in. But again, it comes down to who the best teams are. And when you look at this field of 4, Clemson versus Alabama, and then you've got Oklahoma on the other side of the bracket taking on Georgia, another tough SEC team. I think altogether we could potentially see an all-SEC national championship. But so far, you look at these 4 teams, it's going to be hard to argue once these games get going if the committee made the wrong choice or not.
But I just go back to, I don't know, just Alabama history when it comes to football. And whenever, I know the huge controversy came out, and I remember I was scrolling down Instagram and I saw, the teams that they had chosen out of the whole controversy. You can't have, to me, college football playoffs doesn't make sense without Alabama. Because there always seem to be the root of it. Everyone, you either hate them or you love them. You know what I mean? But people always are going to hate a winning team or always going to love a winning team for so forth. But to me, it just doesn't make sense to have a college football player without Alabama. So, of course, I think they made the right decision.
Yeah, and ESPN, along with the committee, knows that having Alabama and Georgia in there, I think we're starting to forget that Georgia is another really good SEC team, but having those 2 in the playoffs is going to really bring in that viewership. Again, like you said, Alabama is that one team that everybody loves to hate. They're like Terrell Owens when he played for the Dallas Cowboys. Whether you liked him or you hated him, you were still talking about him. Mm-hmm. Altogether, this is going to open up that conversation, though, going forward, is if they should extend this from a 4-team playoff to an 8-team playoff. But if you do that, there's going to be more and more questions going forward, and a lot of people are going to forever just argue that point of, like, should they be in every year simply because they are Alabama? But going forward, I think this is going to be a solid choice. And when you look at Clemson versus Alabama in the first round, I mean, this is a rematch of the last 2 national championships. This is going to be a high-powered game from the start. And Oklahoma and Georgia on the other side, they may be the second best game out of it, but those 2 are still going to put on a show, in my opinion.
Most definitely. I don't know about you. I'm super excited to watch that Alabama-Clemson game. But you said a little bit about you're thinking it could possibly go 8 people going to the playoffs. People say, it almost goes back to a sense where, everybody gets a trophy sort of deal. You want everybody to get a chance. So I'm hoping that they don't change that aspect, but we're going to just have to wait and see. You guys, it looks like that's all the time that we have for this week's episode of Sportspage. Make sure you guys tune in for next semester to stay up to date on all things UCM sports. For my co-host, Will McLaughlin, I'm Jada Hill.